All right, fire them up! What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Genre of Your Life podcast, a show all about movies, TV, and the genres that define us. This is episode number 58. I am one of your hosts, Doug Jones. With me, as always, is my amazing co-host, one of my best friends, one of the best people in this universe, the wonderful, the amazing, it is the incredible Mr. Nick Johnson. How's it going, Nick?
You are too kind, but I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, my friend. You know, the month's going pretty good, I think, so far. You and I have a lot of cool stuff in the works. A little
Yes,
behind
indeed.
the scenes, obviously. Keep on the down low for now, obviously. We're still working out some things, some, cool behind the scenes stuff for the show and for our Midway Avenue, of course, man. But again, as always, man, thank you for a fun and memorable screening night last night for Speak No Evil. Thank you, my good sir.
No, thank you, man. It's always a pleasure. It's always super fun. It's always a great time to be honest, bro. And it's always, at least in my opinion, like 9 times out of 10, it's an amazing movie, or at the very least, a very fun movie to watch. Night swim.
Still memorable.
Yeah.
Could be a bad movie. Still memorable.
It might be a rough movie, but it's a fun day.
You know what? I like that. You know what? That's the perfect way to describe it. No matter what we see, that's what it is. And I tell you what, last night I played a game last night that you and I that we there's certain audience member that we see from time to time that likes to say make a coughing sound throughout the movie, and
He's trying to make it I Am Legend Part 2 up in there, man.
I know. It's funny. There's those guys that like Double Toasted said they have a similar guy at their screenings, and like they said whenever the guy coughs at their screening, it's like a car engine going off.
Oh, man.
He's like, oh, he's taking off.
They're like, why is my seat shaking right now?
Yeah, it's not a
This
40x
is
movie.
insane.
It's not a 40x movie.
40X movie.
So last night you saw my fingers. I was like, number 11, number 12.
Yeah, I saw you kept like putting your hands up. I was like, you must be praying or something.
Because I forgot to bring it up when we saw Blink Twice. When every 2 minutes, we look back, we're like, oh, he's still doing it. So that's a new game. I'll say we've been playing at our screening.
Yeah.
Again, memorable.
This gentleman also makes the movie theater experience quite memorable and quite interesting.
He really does. Again, despite all that, he really does. The silver lining of that is definitely the memorable experience thanks to him. So thank you, our coughing co-critic. But yeah, that was, again, it was always, man, thank you. And you make those so much more fun. So again, kudos to you, my good sir.
No, thank you, bro. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. And thank you all for joining this week. If you're new to the show, welcome to the podcast. If you're returning to the show, welcome back. We are so glad you are sticking around with our rambling, our love for movies, TV, entertainment. Like I said, guys, we have a lot in store for you for the rest of 2024 and look out for 2025. We have a lot of cool things in the kitchen right now. We're working out. Me and Nick are working really hard behind the scenes right now for a lot of cool stuff for you all, but also for the show and for the future of the show, and all, of course, Midway Ave. So look out for that. A lot of cool things on the pipeline or in development, as we say in the TV and film world. But of course, you can find the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, as well as a full audio show on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Midway Avenue Productions. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube Music. Please subscribe and rate the show. We want to hear from you all. Your feedback really means the world to us. Negative, good, neutral, whatever. All press is good press. So again, please review, rate the show. And for Apple Podcast listeners, we really need your help getting to 200 Apple Podcast ratings. It's probably one of our outstanding goals we've had here on the podcast for the past year, 2 years now. We're going on 2 years with the show come November, which is crazy to believe. But so again, no matter again, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube Music, please, again, your support means the world to us. But again, for Apple Podcasts, especially, Apple Podcasts is a really big source of kind of measurement for analytics for us to do more press coverage, more events, stuff like that, as well, kind of like festivals and cons. So definitely get us to 200 ratings on Apple Podcasts. It would really mean the world to us. And to our YouTube audience, thank you so much for tuning in. We're growing more of an audience every week, which is like crazy to believe. You know, Nick, we're 500 views away from 100K on Expendables 4.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait. What are we 500 from? What's the exact number? Or is it
It's
because it's 95,000, right?
I think so. Oh, sorry. 99. Sorry, we're 800 away. Sorry, my bad. 99,200 right now. So we
Okay,
are.
dang. Okay, yeah. Because when we get to those, you said we're 88. You said we're 88 away.
Sorry,
Sorry,
800 away. 800 away.
800 away. Sorry, I
Mhm.
did not sleep
No,
last night at all. So
no, my
I
bad.
apologize.
You're
It's
good.
been brain fog all day today.
You're
But
good.
you we're 800 away.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. When we get to 800, we definitely we gotta do something for that.
We have to.
We gotta do something to celebrate.
We have to. And I'm still down to do that Expendables watch along when we do the video element of the podcast. That'd be so much fun.
Oh heck yeah.
We have to. I
Especially
mean.
because I really want to rewatch the first one again now. Because like I remember, and I'm sure I've said this. I'm sure I've said this before, but the first one when it came out, it's like okay, it's a cool action movie, a little bit corny, but you know it was a good time. Fast forward to part four, it was like, who the fuck wrote this? It was kind of like, what is going on? And then I saw a clip from the first one after not having watched it for like years at this point. I
Mhm.
don't think I've seen it since like high school.
Yeah,
And
same.
it was just like I'm watching this clip and I'm like, hey, with no context, this scene would make me want to watch the movie because it just looked like a solid movie. But I have the context, so it's like that's kind of weird to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do too. I would watch them again. I think I own 2 and 3. I want to say on Blu-ray, but we should definitely watch them. I think, to your point, I haven't watched them since high school too, so it'd be kind of fun to kind of like do a reaction again. For some reason, our audience is loving our Expendables content. The one video we have of Expendables.
I know that is crazy.
It's so funny. I mean, I'm always thinking, I'm like, okay, what could top that? But for some reason, like, listen, we have great analytics on like Dune Part 2 reaction and like Twisters obviously and the Fall Guy. But for some reason, that's the video that people keep going to. So hey, listen, thanks to you all, we're growing our YouTube. So remember a year ago, our YouTube was at like, I want to say like maybe 25 followers, which is humble beginnings. But
That's solid. That's a good number.
but we're at 540 now, which is crazy.
Yeesh.
In a year that like wow, like again, we have more, we had more access to screenings and more coverage stuff, which is crazy this past year. But the
Mhm.
fact that we were at 25 a little year ago, and then just randomly at a Tuesday night, September at AZ Mills, we do this our third take of Expendables reaction. I grew an audience, so thank you.
No, that is insane. Like audience members, definitely thank you so much for tuning into all of these videos, all of these podcasts, all of these reviews. It definitely means the world to us because it's fun for. I can only speak for myself, really. Like it's fun for me to do this, but like in addition to that, in addition to having fun and just having a good time with my boy over here, it's kind of like it's like wow, I'm in awe of the audience and of the just of how much the channel has grown. So I will say this though, because Expendables 4 seems to be so intently on people's minds, not dogging it, just definitely curious about it. I will say, I'll throw this out there. Throw like hit us up in the comments on YouTube and explain like why are so many of y'all so infatuated with our Expendables 4 review? Is it just how we reviewed it? Is it something about the movie itself or the franchise of people involved? And hey, you know what? Slide into the DMs on Instagram as well. Only to explain it though. For now.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
You heard what Nick said. Listen to the man. He knows best.
Keep
Please.
everything family friendly. This is a family channel after all.
with just explicit tags on our episodes.
Yeah. It's an explicit family.
You know what? That's what well said.
Yeah.
well,
You got to keep everything clean. It's a fucking family show at the end of the day.
well said. Well said. But no, seriously, you heard Nick. Listen to the man. He knows best. So we want to know we want to know the why, when, how of Expendables 4. So let us
especially the why.
The why. Emphasis on the why. But yeah, like Nick said, please let us know because we are dying to know. Please,
Yeah,
we're dying to know. Yeah, keep us posted. Alrighty, my boys. So again, thank you all for Thank you all for the support in the past year. Again, we're going on 2 years come November. Like I said, keep your alerts on for new episodes. Keep following what's going to be a lot more coverage coming down the pipeline for everybody this year. We got a lot more movies to review. We got Joker 2 coming up. We got lots of stuff coming down the pipeline this year. So be on the lookout for all that jazz. Alrighty, my boy. But before we do our review of the night, which is Speak No Evil, want to give a quick shout out to, again, really sad yesterday we lost a legend, man. A legend in someone in our childhood, obviously. We lost the great James Earl Jones, man. The voice of Mufasa, the big part of our childhood, Lion King for us, 90s babies. Darth Vader for so many people. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, let's go. Coming to America, The Sandlot. List goes
The
on and
Fences stage play.
Fences, yeah, exactly. Fences stage play. What's the one I like? It's Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. That's the one I
wow.
grew up. That's what I grew up
Oh
on.
man,
Yeah.
no, that's I gotta see that movie again. That's a good one.
Yeah, everyone's kind of like putting on their Twitter and like Instagram and everything. I was like, oh my gosh, I Welcome Home. I haven't seen that movie in forever, and I was like, that's right, he's in that movie. It's been great cast too. You got Martin Lawrence. You got is it Mike Epps in that? Mike Epps is in that.
Yeah, Mike Epps is in it. Michael Clark
Oh,
Duncan,
that's
rest
right.
in peace.
Yes,
Monique.
Monique,
Um, because I'm trying to
Cedric the Entertainer.
Cedric the Entertainer. Yeah, I'm trying to because I'm like, dang, off the top of my head, who else was in it? I, I'm rewatching the entire movie in my head right now,
And now it's
trying
so
to
good.
recognize anybody else.
It's a great movie.
I'm like, I want to say I might be mistaken, but I believe Cicely Tyson might have been in it. Give me just 1 second because I'm about to look it up.
I think you're right. Again, it rings. I'm looking too. It's ringing a bell.
Nope, that wasn't her. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Yeah, we could just go cut this part out though.
Yeah, that's
But
okay.
Louis C.K.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
He was in
Nicole
that.
Ari Parker. Okay.
Louis C.K. Okay.
This movie came out 2008. Hey, that was a good year for movies.
That was a great year for movies. That was a great year. And now streaming on Max. So know what I'm watching this weekend when we're at the house.
Oh, Margaret Avery. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, Margaret. That. Yep. Now I'm thinking about it. Yep, you're right. You are definitely
Directed by
right.
Malcolm D. Lee.
Malcolm D. Lee.
Oh, wow.
Malcolm D. Lee. That's right. Yep. Director of Space Jam 2.
He did Space Jam too.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
man.
did.
Okay.
He did.
That movie wasn't too bad. I am a little biased towards the first one. I feel like it's a little bit more for nostalgia purposes.
Yep.
Man, yeah, because I had that bad boy on VHS.
Me too, man. The VHS, the blue case. Yeah, yes, sir.
That's right. Oh man, I remember like all the previews too. It was like a Kids WB preview, a preview for fucking Batman Sub-Zero.
Dude, I used to watch that and credits get the whole soundtrack. Despite having R. Kelly on the soundtrack,
because he did "I Believe I Could Fly."
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that soundtrack is certified banger, man. That's you got Seal, you got LL Cool J, you got Busta Rhymes, you got Coolio.
I gotta listen to the soundtrack because I only heard the R. Kelly song.
Hey, come over, man.
Obviously the one at the beginning of the movie.
Yep.
Welcome to the Space Jam.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Great soundtrack.
I'm about to download that on my Spotify right now. Well, not right now. Maybe
better. You better.
Unless I forget. This old age is starting to kick in a little bit.
I'll remind you. Don't worry. I got you.
Appreciate you. Just send me a text or like I'll just write it on a post-it note, put it on my mirror. I'll do like how we did in Memento. Just get it tatted on my neck.
Of it.
Yeah. Tattoo of it written backwards. So when I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh, okay, I got to do that.
Yeah, you bet.
I look at my phone. It says it's added like 100 times. I'm like, what the heck?
She took down Spotify. He wasn't ready for you. Wasn't ready for you, Nick. Wasn't ready for you.
What is going on?
But yeah,
rest in peace, James Earl Jones.
Yeah, man.
It's legend. Like, wow. Because I saw the news. It was like, I'm in disbelief.
Yeah, 93 years old, man.
It's wild to think about, but
93. What a good life. What a good life.
A good long life too. So it's just that's a blessing for sure. I hope I live to be 93.
I know, right? That's the dream. That is the dream. 93, man. I mean, what a legend, dude. I mean, again, thinking back to growing up Lion King, Star Wars, but I think back to The Sandlot. I think back to Field of Dreams. It's like he was in two of the best baseball movies ever too. And again, I mean, he was so good as the king in Coming to America. Um,
Right.
and if we hear about the guy, he's just a really good dude. He was a really
Yeah.
good dude. It was cool to see like how like a legend that he was. So rest in peace, sir, and thank you for all the good memories. Thank you for all the everything and all the good memories and just the endless voices and just the entertainment that we kind of just like fell in love with. Thanks to, and one of the most iconic voices ever too. One of the most, if
Yeah.
not the iconic voice ever in film and TV. So thank you, sir. Please rest in peace. That was again. Thank you for everything. Alrighty, my friends. So moving on to a more lighter note is our review of the night. And tonight we are reviewing Universal and Blumhouse's Speak No Evil, which is the quote unquote American remake of the 2022, I believe it's a Dutch film. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Dutch film.
It was
Um,
either Dutch or Danish.
Danish, probably right. You're probably right. Yep. Yeah, that sounds better, Nick. You're right. I think it's Danish. Pretty sure it's Danish. Thank you for the save and the
I got you,
assist.
bro. I got you.
Appreciate you. But yeah, in the trailers, Speak No Evil basically follows it's a family is invited to spend a weekend in an idyllic country house, unaware that their dream vacation will soon become a psychological nightmare. And again, if you know Blumhouse, this is Blumhouse's kind of like wheelhouse of horror and fucked up stuff and twists and turns and very unsettling stories. But Nick, you and I both saw the trailers for this for like the whole summer. Like Deadpool, whether we saw Long Legs, whatever, we saw. I think we saw the trailer almost every movie we saw this summer. Whether it was anything we saw this trailer for.
Yeah, they were
Speaking
playing
of
it a
Evil.
lot, which it makes sense. It's
Yep.
Blumhouse and it's Universal. You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
like it's a big a couple big studios behind it. But
Oh yeah.
I did notice that, and I think that kind of fed into why, like, my opinion of it early on was like, I really hope they didn't just throw all of this shit into the
Right.
trailer and say like, fuck it, like y'all know what type of movie it is, but y'all are gonna see it anyway. It's like,
Mhm.
but it's luck by the, I'm not to get too much into it like right now because I know I cut you off, so that's my bad. But
No, you're good.
I was very pleasantly surprised with the movie.
Yeah, it's funny. I think you and I both said it the entire summer. We're like, this movie looks good, but we both were like, the trailer's showing a lot. And I think to your and our defense, it did in some places. But again, I'll start with you. I know you loved it. So, what did you think about the movie overall?
Well, like you said, man, I loved it. I was because going into it, I thought it was just gonna be a cookie cutter, um, just a cookie cutter like horror movie. Like, hey, we're a nice family and we're stuck in a house with some crazy people in it. And then they cut off the kid's tongue. That was in the trailer. That's not a spoiler, but seeing that in the trailer, I would that was one of the things that kind of not it didn't turn me off to it, but it did make me feel like I hope they didn't just again like put everything out there, because I'm like that would have been a crazy like reveal, because how could you do that to a kid and then you're just
Right.
acting like everything's all fine, you know what I mean? But the movie was great, and it's funny too because it's one of those movies where like where the main characters they're they're in all these situations that typically when you're watching a horror movie, you're kind of like, why the fuck would you do that? That makes no
Right.
sense. How did this happen? Like, what was the thought process behind that? And it's like, it was a little bit of that going on, but it was still kind of like I guess the circumstances around it or leading up to it made it more believable.
Right.
Because one of the things, well, should I say that? No, I'm not gonna say that, but it's like you could see how it's like certain, I guess. Nah, damn, that's a spoiler too. Okay, I'll say this. The movie was it was a lot of fun to watch. Some of it feel I felt was kind of relatable.
Hmm.
So in that, like sometimes you're in like just certain social situations where it's like, man, I'm not really like fucking with that, but it's like, it's kind of, it would be awkward if I like said no, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it was a little bit of that going on in the movie. And is those situations where I'm like, if it was me, I would have went left, but the characters went right. But even with that, it's like, okay, I see why you went right instead of left. But I'm like, if it was me, there was one particular scene where like it was the characters, they were like so close to achieving something, and then like
Hmm.
last minute a metaphorical like wrench was kind of thrown into their plans. And in the movie, they made a certain choice in regards to that. I'm like, okay, like I get that, but if it was me, man, like I'll be like, hey, hey, listen, man. Sometimes you gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet. You know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, because like I feel dorky for saying this, but I'm a comic book fan. Like there was this Spider-Man cartoon where uh like Kingpin he had done some crimes and shit like that,
Yeah.
but his son took the fall for it. And like at the judge, hits the gavel, Wilson Fisk Jr., you're fucking going to jail. And he's looking like, oh shit. And like fucking Kingpin, his dad is like right behind him. He's like all up in his ear. He's like, sacrifices have to be made. Like, so it's like, hey, listen, man, someone had to take the fall. Like
Right.
someone had to low-key suffer for it. So like in the scene in this particular movie, Speak No Evil, I'm like, hey, like that's rough. That XYZ most likely was about to happen to a character. But for me, I'm like, hey, you're gonna have to deal with it because I'm not going to. Like, it's kind of like that. But again, it's like everything was like nothing was all that unbelievable. James McAvoy was the standout in this movie, and it's funny too because like he was, you can see it in the trailers, but he was just fucking like
He's
huge. Like he was
huge.
like he looked like he was as big as he was in Split.
Yeah.
And what was it, Split and Glass, right? if
Glass, yep.
not if not even like bigger. And typically with like roles like this, at least for me, like I don't really think about like the physical appearance of a character, like as far as like if they're like muscular or whatever. But with James McAvoy, like it made him look scarier because
Yeah.
he's just like this big, like kind of like metaphorical wall that these characters gotta get through. And I feel like that added to the horror of it. But because you can see it in the trailer a little bit too, like the way he kind of he switches back and forth, it's it's like it's so seamless. And because of how quick he's able to do it, how smooth he's able to transition from like this personality to this personality or whatever. It's like it's kind of like, oh, like it adds to the horror, it adds to the tension of the movie. Um, Scoot McNeary or McNary?
I think you said right. Yeah. Yeah.
McNeary?
I think so. Yeah.
I apologize, Scoot McNeary, if you're listening to this, but yeah, Scoot McNeary and Mackenzie Davis's characters, they were solid in their roles. And there was like some other stuff going on with them, which was like um it was cool. Like it definitely, it added to the character arcs that they had. It just made them more believable overall. Like they weren't so one note. Nobody in this movie was really one note. Now
Yeah.
that I think about it, and I think that also kind of um that also got me to like it more. There was no like one note surface level cookie cutter shit with
Yeah.
this movie. In
Hmm.
my opinion, like it's one of those movies that you can just watch it, have a good time, and like turn out. But then the movie fan in me, like there's some things where it's like uh it made me kind of want to, not like I wanted a sequel, because I feel like this is just a perfect one-off movie.
It is.
If they made a sequel, obviously I would watch it. But it's one of those things where it's like a character will say something and it seems like it's kind of just a throwaway line or a throwaway mention or whatever, but it kind of just stays in your head and it's like, no, what did you mean by that? And it's kind of like that, but it doesn't like bog the movie down. um the kid actors were honestly pretty good in it. I feel like there's not as many good like child actors these days.
I agree.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was just a good like kind of psychological horror thriller. And it was very like there was one thing that happened at one point very cathartic. uh but I'm not gonna spoil it, but
Oh,
like
yeah.
when this part happened, the theater erupted, man.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I liked it a lot. I would give it a solid A. I would give it a solid A. And you know what though? We should come up with like a rating system,
We
a
do.
Midway Avenue Productions rating system for movies that we watch and review.
Nick, you said it perfectly. I would love to do that. Again, I tell you about how the double toasted guys do. They do.
Yeah, because
It was
that's what got me thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, we got to do that. We got to
we
do
have
that.
to because they do. If our listeners don't know double toasted, they're really cool guys out of Austin. They've been doing this for like forever. But great Corey Martin are hilarious and they're really good at what they do. And their system is better than sex, full price, matinee, rental, some old bullshit, and fuck you, which I love. But yeah, Nick, I'm so with on you because I would love to do that for our own like rating system because it's very unique and it's very like our own. So let's just brainstorm some ideas about that because I would love to do that. It would be chef's kiss.
Yeah, we definitely got to do
We
that
had to.
for sure.
But yeah, what Nick said a lot too. You know, this trailer, the trailer for sure sold us, despite we thought we were showing a little too much. But you know, with me, it's like I like seeing what Blumhouse can do, and obviously they're good for horror, but stuff like obviously like Upgrade and Black Klansman, and also in Whiplash, it's like they can do some really cool genre stuff within their kind of quote unquote lower budget, as he says, Jason Blum says all the time, high concept, low budget. I love that kind of model of filmmaking and storytelling because again, I feel like you're not like restrained in ways of like I can do this or not like working on a huge budget where you kind of maxing out on certain things. But with this, I think they know how to utilize James McAvoy a lot well in this because look at Split. Split, before we knew it was a sequel to Unbreakable and a prequel to Glass. It was like, what is this kind of like thriller, kind of like Kubrick kind of thing of like this multiple schizophrenic kind of guy. And James McAvoy was just phenomenal in that, and I think he was very overlooked that year for an awards or recognition. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I mean, you and I both love we love Wanted so much, and that's going back like now almost 16 years, which is crazy enough. But my first time watching him was Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, which is crazy to think.
Oh no, he was that that goat dude, right?
Yeah,
Was that
yeah,
him?
that's him. Yeah.
Oh my, because I haven't seen that movie. I saw it like in theaters, bro, and I haven't like watched it since. But when you said that, it just fucking clicked in my head.
Yeah, Mr. Thomas.
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy? So
That was James McAvoy. Like
James
I was
McAvoy, yes,
just thought
sir.
that was just some dude, but
It
that's
was
not just some dude. Damn it, that's James McAvoy. That's
James.
Professor fucking Xavier.
It was our Scottish friend James McAvoy. But yeah, so like I know this guy is one of the best actors working today. I think he's very overlooked in a lot of things. Again, I think he was perfect casting as a young Professor X, young Charles Xavier, which I think hard to do. I think both Fassbender and McAvoy had a hard task of like really kind of not following up, but like laying the groundwork after at the time after Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart. So I thought they were both casted perfectly. Are the movies do them justice? Not necessarily, unfortunately, but they're still very good at what they do for what he does for young Charles Xavier. But with this, I think if you've seen Split, you've seen Glass, you know what McAvoy's capable of as a really kind of menacing and really like sinister villain. And so what I think what is so good in this is that he plays a really charming and very kind of like, oh yeah, like I'm one of the cool guys, whatever. And you believe him, even though you know the trailers, something's not right. But the first half hour of the movie, you're just like, man, he's so charming, he's so nice, he's cool, he's a cool dad, he's a cool husband, like he's very suave, he's very kind of like very personal, and I'm just like, oh man, like I'm falling for this guy. He's really charming, but I know he's fucked up. Again, as we've seen in the trailers, but he's very just again the way he kind of plays is really kind of like this guy is kind of just like this kind of a cringe at time guy, but he's very just like again very endearing, very kind of lures you in a little bit, kind of ropes you in, and then he goes full bonkers after the first half. You're like, oh shit! But I think what this movie does really well is that it's very unsettling, it's very cringe, very uncomfortable at times, and what you and I said yesterday after the movie is that this movie was oddly very funny too. Like you and I were like, this movie was really funny.
It was funny, but it was the type of humor that wasn't. It worked because it wasn't forced in. It was very like situational humor. Like it would be kind of weird, like not that it would be weird if like someone didn't make a joke, but it was just one of those things where it's like like naturally, it made sense for the character to say or do this thing
right
in this particular situation, and it was kind of like Get Out. How primarily it's a horror movie, but some of those sections of where there was where there was like some levity,
Hmm.
it didn't take away from the movie at all. Dare I
Yes.
say it even added to it. And to
Yes.
matter of fact, to your point about how kind of creepy, or you use the word cringe that James McAvoy was. Apparently, James McAvoy had based his character on Andrew Tate.
That
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's what I had heard. I'm like, because I heard it before going into the movie, but like watching it, I'm like, yeah,
I
I
can
could
see
kind of see
that.
that. Not saying
I
like
can
Andrew
see
Tate is
it.
some like weird, like crazy guy, like the way he was in the movie. McAvoy was in the movie, but I'm like, yeah, some of the certain kind of like, like certain traits, certain attributes. I'm like, I can kind of see where he was going for. I think it was like the mentality of it.
Yes, that but there the mentality of it all, where there's like it's kind of like how people like fall for again. People are like, oh, there's like certain people that who are like they come off as really kind of like endearing and very genuine and very like very welcoming. And it's like the more you get to know them, the more they do stuff. It's like this person is fucked up. This person is
Yeah,
not right. And I think this movie's a good. I would say a slow burn because the pace of this movie is phenomenal. But I think how the movie kind of like kind of unreals kind of like reveals of like the more you dive deep, the more you kind of spend these characters, it's not what you think it is. And it's like I like how they took the
yeah,
time to like kind of like unveil and kind of reveal like, oh, okay, this and this, whatever. It wasn't like boom, here you go, whatever. It's laying
yeah.
out the
They didn't
clues.
rush it.
They didn't rush it. They didn't
Yeah,
rush.
they took
Yeah,
their time, but they didn't drag along with anything.
it pers- ex- exactly, Nick. Exactly. It was well paced. It wasn't just like it kept you guessing, kept you like really engaged, kept you focused too. Of like, and there's certain scene I'm not gonna say that you found yesterday. I was like, oh shit, you're right. Well, there's two characters in a room somewhere, and McAvoy is doing something, and I didn't even see it. And then you go look, and I was like, oh shit, and the whole audience was
The,
like,
because when I pointed that out to you was because I heard someone like in the row in front of us, like I saw they were like oh shit, and like they were pointing, and I was like, the hell are they pointing at? Ah! And I like almost like jumped up in my seat when I noticed it, but it's the shit like that that's like, it's very subtle. If it's like if you don't see it, if you don't notice it the first time, it's not going to ruin the scene.
right.
But if you do notice it, it kind of just it enhances it a little bit. It enhances the experience, man. And it was kind of just little shit like that again that just it just made the movie for me.
It's again, it enhances the experience. I think to your point, to add on to your point too, is that this is a very crowd pleasing movie because again, I haven't been in a movie last night with you. Probably, I mean, Deadpool, Wolverine, but I haven't been like in a horror, like a genre movie like this where people were like screaming and like, "Don't do that! Don't do
Yeah,
that!"
screaming
Like,
and churn. I think the last one that I went to was that I can think of at least was It Chapter One.
yeah,
Is it called Chapter
yeah,
One?
yeah, or just it. I think they changed it after the movie came out, or the end was like it
Okay,
chapter
because
one.
when I was thinking about it, I was like, hmm, was it Chapter One or not? Because I'm kind of like, it'd be weird if they did it if they called it Chapter One when it first came out. But no, like that was a horror movie where it's like, kind of like this one. It's solid horror. There's some stuff that you can laugh at, but not. It's like you're laughing with the movie though.
Right,
You're not
right,
laughing
yeah.
at the movie. It's not because the movie's like fucking up, but again, it just kind of it helps out the experience.
You're right. It's not. It's not. Again, it's not. It's not Night Swim that we're laughing at it, or Expendables 4. We're laughing
Man,
at it, and
jeez.
I think to my in our adaptive reaction, I said that I don't think Blumhouse has kind of been hitting the way they used to like back in the day with like a Get Out or Invisible Man or the first Halloween, and even like the
Mm.
Purge movies to a degree. It's like they haven't really kind of like or an upgrade or whatever. They haven't really kind of like hitting the way they used to be. So I think that like this was kind of like a return to form for them in terms of kind of just like what they're known for. Really kind of these kind of like really kind of like these twisted but really kind of like capturing, engaging movies. It's like, oh shit, like that's gonna happen. That kind of like to your point, that feel real. Like this movie's scary because it feels real. That like you can see yourself being in this kind of situation or one like it where you're like, what the fuck? And it's like,
Right.
and it's scary because it's real. And I think it's what Blumhouse is really known for is that like, yes, Michael Myers, probably not, or Invisible Man, probably not. But you think of like Get Out to a degree, but it's still very real what Jordan Peele and Blumhouse did with that movie, or even like an Us to a degree as well. But there are some things, or even like a Split to a degree. To a degree, Split can have like certain things of like people who are schizophrenic or had bipolar. Obviously, that could be a thing, but like what this movie does really well is that it's scary because people that like I want to mess people in like on a cruise or a trip. We just like hit it off, but again, you don't really know these people, so it's like how can you be so trusting when you barely know these people? And the movie has a kind of commentary on that a little bit to a degree. Again, non spoilers obviously, but the movie kind of pokes fun of that, like, yeah, you don't really know these people, so what are you doing here? And
Yeah.
again, you get so caught up in like being on like the high about being on a vacation or being on a trip. It's like, oh man, what can go wrong? And it's like, well, a lot of things can go wrong, or a lot of things can go fucked up. So you better watch your back.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
kind of like to your point. It's like be careful about who you interact with,
yeah, or you
because
trust.
like you see movies like this and you think like that's just fiction. It'll never happen until like you find yourself in this situation. Not like I've found myself in this type of situation before, but it's one of those things where you never know.
Yeah, you
That's
never
why,
know.
like me personally, I'm more of a quiet guy, more reserved. So situations like the ones that happen in this movie, I can promise you I will never fucking
Oh
find myself in
fuck
those
that.
types of situations.
Hell no.
Sheesh.
Hell no. And
I don't be talking to nobody. I could be in a house by myself 2 months, chilling,
and you're fine with
chilling.
that.
For real, man. Just eating candy, watching some Justice League Unlimited. Scrumptious. You feel me?
Play some
I'm
Hans
not
Zimmer Man
like
of
the most
Steel.
outgoing. I gotta like really, really know you to kind of
Right.
like open up and be like outgoing like that. But especially with these guys, like heck no, man. Because there's movies like this that made me say like, you know what? I don't need a vacation. I'll just stay home. I don't need to go
Right.
out of town. Let me just stay in my house.
I'm chilling for the a weekend. I'm good.
Yeah,
Enjoy your weekend away. I'm good.
yeah.
But it was fun though, is that I think that like I mean I haven't been on trips like this before, but I've like I've done things or I've been on like events or gone to events or been on like excursions with people I just meet for the first time, and knowing my luck has never ended so well. So I'm like, I've definitely had
Mm.
experiences like, oh, you think it's gonna be kind of cool weekend, whatever. This is gonna be great, and then you go away, or go to the event, whatever. It's like, well, that shit did not work out, but you're so excited about it. So I can relate on not now as like how awful this movie paints a picture of, but like I can relate to like things kind of went poorly at events or excursions, whatever. You're just like, oh man. But again, being relatable enough that like the movie wasn't like again. I think that like again, what Blumhouse does really well is that yes, they can do demonic and supernatural stuff. But I think what Blumhouse does really well, and the core of it all is that the realistic kind of like horror where it's like you can see this happening. Well, I think The Purge at one point people were like, this could actually happen. It's like, yeah, I could, but I mean that's what kind of gave kind of like the oomph, like or like kind of like what if it happened. Um,
Yeah, like maybe this could happen, but like why?
right,
It's
right.
it's 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 kind of too out there. I don't know that the country would ever get to such a
Oh
point where it's
no.
like, you know what? You know the one thing we haven't fucking tried yet. Let's just have 12 hours where all crime is legal. No one's gonna
Right.
fucking do that. Because also
Right.
even like after that, I'm sure like once that 12 hours is lifted, it's still gonna be people out there just doing crimes and
Exactly.
shit like that.
Exactly.
It's gonna be the same shit going on. It's just gonna be like, well, it's only technically allowed during these 12 hours, but if you do it out, you could like do it outside. It's just we'd have to arrest you. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a pessimist.
No, but you're right. No, you're right. It's kind of like I think the last one wasn't a good movie to be honest. But like they asked the question of like, well, what if people don't stop after it happens? And the movie showed like the movie was very kind of like it went very kind of like over the top of like the
Mm,
country's burning, whatever. It's like okay, like this is where we get a little too like to your point, a little too bombastic and too like all right, now you're a little too far fetched. Like you
yeah.
jumped the shark with this one. But I think why this movie does really well is that it really instills the fear of like this could happen to you. And the movie has a commentary of like you be careful who you trust and go on vacation with.
Hmm.
And I do think again, I thought Mackenzie Davis was phenomenal in this as well. I thought I haven't seen her movie probably since not Blade Runner. No, probably, I didn't see Terminator. I didn't see Tully. But we said that we liked her in that San Junipero Black Mirror episode, which is a really good episode.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that was the first Black Mirror episode I saw, and it was that episode was phenomenal.
Great episode. Great
Oh,
episode.
that episode it had me like in my head just about the nature of like of love and like life and death
Yeah.
and what else was it? It was I don't want to say exist. Well, I guess existence. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of how you see people and how you see kind of just like how you see your life in certain ways of like certain stages of your life and like where life might take you. Actually, you never know where life might take you, and I show have to kind of ask a question of like what could happen or what if basically, which is why it's so captivating.
Indeed,
um,
bro.
Oh no, I saw her in a show. I started watching with someone. Uh, um, my ex.
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
watched it.
I'm like, I'm already knowing what
Surprise,
that is.
surprise, and it was called Station 11. It was on HBO Max, and it was a really good setup. But
What was
halfway,
that about? Because I kept hearing about it, but I never checked it out.
it was based off of a book, and surprise, and it was supposed to be kind of post-apocalyptic, like in like Chicago, like Illinois, whatever. But like it different timelines and different kind of like stories, whatever. And the first few episodes, I'm like, this is great. And then the halfway part, also there were like hour and 10 minute episodes. They were very long, and like this maybe the halfway point where I was like, okay, I was kind of bored. I was like, I never went back to watch it. I think my ex and I were like, yeah, no, we're good. Like it was like good setup, but it just dragged on and on and on for these hour and a 10 minute episodes. I think it was like 10 or 11 of them. And I was like, I'm done. I was like, I'm kind of checked out. So I never went back to it, but I remember liking her in it in the scenes that she was in. Um, but I thought she was great in Blade Runner 2049. She was in a really good movie that came out years ago with Miles Teller, Zac Efron, and Michael B. Jordan calls that awkward moment, which is a very
She was in that awkward moment.
yeah. She played Miles Teller's girlfriend.
How did I not remember? Because I was thinking
Yeah,
about that movie the other day,
it's
but
a great
I hadn't
movie.
seen it in so long. Whenever I thought about Miles Teller, I think I was picturing Adam Levine from Workaholics.
Oh, a Divine, Adam Divine.
Divine, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh man, but because I was there was something else that I seen. Oh, The Turning. Did you see The Turning
I have not.
with Finn Wolfhard?
No, I have not. Oh no. I remember it was coming out. I was in LA, and I that movie I
Mhm.
just like got bashed.
No, that
Like,
movie was ass, bro.
that's
Like
what I heard.
respectfully to everyone that was involved, but bro, that movie was straight at like he was fucking like a pack of hot ass, bro. Just like hot dog water.
That's what
It was it was not good, and the ending was like the ending was the most out of the blue thing. Like there was no setup for this, but it's like I could tell y'all were trying to go for like something shocking. But when the movie ended, the movie ended, and it was like okay, nothing made sense here. I don't know if it was one of those movies that this happens a lot, unfortunately, where it's just like, like, hey, this is the vision I have for the
right.
movie. And the studio comes in and they're like, you know what? We're actually just gonna like chop this shit up and fuck it up and then release it. Cause it really just seemed like it really just kind of seemed like that. There's like speculation as to what the ending might have been, because I believe it was either based off of a book or it was no, it was a remake of something else. I think it was called The Turning of the Screw.
Sounds about
Um,
right. Yeah, I think it was a yeah,
Was it
novel. Yep.
okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
novel.
because I know that I think this movie and The Turning, those are like this movie is like the second horror remake that Mackenzie Davis has done, according to IMDb triviafacts.com. But but yeah, so I was like, oh yeah, because I forgot about The Turning. That's again another movie I just saw like the one time, never fucking thought about it again.
Oh my god, you want turning? You know what's funny? Oh my gosh, I had tickets for that to go to the premiere of that in LA during my internship. I was going through my internship. Hey, we're going to premiere this movie, and I was like, oh, go, why not premiere whatever? But it was like getting late, and I was like, I gotta go to Hollywood and then go back to West LA for like where my apartment was at the time. And then I think someone at the office was like, that movie was fucking ass, and I was like, good to know. And I didn't go, and I didn't go, and I was like, next
Nah,
thing I'm
like
like, yo,
it's
thanks.
a good thing you saved your money, man. But it just that movie wasn't it.
Yeah, and yeah. I legit almost went to that premiere of that movie, and I was like, I'm gonna go, and I was like, maybe not, and then the
The,
guy said, don't go to it. I was like, I'm not going. I'm like, yo, appreciate it, but yeah, I
you
again,
did the
I
right thing.
did the right thing. And thank you for the reassurance, my friend, that it was worth me skipping out on that.
No, it definitely was. If I could go back in time and not watch it, I would totally do that.
That's me in Fantasy Island with oh my god, different episode of the show. But
Yeah.
no, I think I do think what we said earlier about in your part in your notes in your thoughts too is that there was things in this movie that, like, to your point, I was like, just go home, just go home, just go home, just don't do this, stop, you're so close, and it's like, no, we're doing this, and I got frustrated because I was like, to a point, I was like, I thought we were better than this in the horror movies nowadays. But again, I know it's a trope. I know it's like kind of like a traditional horror filmmaking trope, or again, keeping this non spoiler, whatever. And I was like, oh man, like don't do that, don't do that. And then it happens. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and I was getting kind of like upset. So I'm like, how could you be this dumb? Like, didn't get out say, don't go in the house, don't go in the house. I'm like,
For real.
like,
Every horror movie is do not go in the house. If you
go in the
go in the
house.
house and something just don't seem right, leave, bro.
Right. And it's just like there was when you see red flags, don't avoid them. Just say, okay, this is not good. And I do think, again, keep it non spoiler. There's certain characters that saw the red flags and others that didn't. And you're just like, oh, okay, what? But the time spent that you were just kind of like not avoiding them, just like get in the fucking car, just go, just go, just go, do this, get this, go, go,
Yeah,
go, go, go.
get in the car. Don't look
Just
back.
don't look back. Please.
Because I remember, yeah, like, oh, but oh, I forgot this. No, we'll
Nope.
buy another one
Buy another one.
when we get there. You don't even need it.
And that's bad parenting. I'm sorry, bad parenting.
Yeah.
I'd be like, too
Oh,
bad.
matter of fact, because you bring up a good point. The family dynamic between Scoot McNairy, Mackenzie Davis, and the actress that played their daughter. I don't remember what her name was, but that's like one of those family dynamics where it's like you see the tension in it. You see that everyone's doing their best to try to make it work, to try to make the best out of like this situation that they all kind of put themselves in.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about the like when they meet James McAvoy and everything. I'm just talking about like them specifically. So their whole thing, and like the little how we were just saying like, hey, you're like 11 years old, you need to kind of like grow out of that. And the little tension between McNeary and Davis, it's like it just stuff like that, like you introduce it, you kind of you bring it up a little bit, but you don't harp on it. It's just you give us enough so it's like, okay, but we get it. How they did that in this film, I feel like it worked. It made the family that much more realistic. So when they're going through all this crazy shit, and it's even with like some of the choices where it's like like y'all really should have done this, but instead you did that. Even though like even with that, it's like I get why, I get like where you're coming from, because you can see like in their faces that they're just like, man, I do not fuck with this. Right. But we're kind of stuck here, and it's like whether they're actually stuck there or they just kind of feel like mentally, socially feel like they're stuck there. It was believable. So even with the choices where it's like, bro, y'all are stupid and y'all fucked up. Even when they made those choices, I was still like, I get why though.
Yeah.
But still, and obviously, since I'm not in this situation, I'm an outsider looking in. I'm able to say like, it makes more sense to do this, da 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 da. But it's like, who knows? If I was in this situation, I probably would have done the same thing. I wouldn't have, but just for the sake of this argument. But it was just, and again, like, so that, yeah, this is I think this is one of my favorite Blumhouse movies so far. I gotta like double check the Blumhouse filmography, but this one for sure is up there. I feel like top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I
maybe even top 5.
Damn, high praise.
I'll say it. Yeah, this I say crazy shit on this show.
Hey man, hot take. That's what the show's about, my friend. I'm looking forward to watching it again for sure. I want to like dissect certain things of like certain like. Also, I think the movie was shot beautifully, by the way. Beautiful cinematography. Again, adding to the realness of it all, that it was shot on location too. It wasn't like, look, we're in this kind of green screen. Look at us. Like, you can tell Blumhouse knows how, with their budgets, know how to like do real sets, real locations, and then being in this house upstate England, it felt real. So it's like, wow, I can see this kind of actually happening, or see this kind of like feel real. So again, it wasn't like, there's times where like when there's in horror movies where it's like either the budget's too big, or it's like, look at this, whatever. It's like it kind of feels like you're kind of clocked out of it. But with this, given the real locations, the real sets, it felt like, oh shit, I know houses like this. Oh, I know being upstate England with no cell service, that's scary. It's like giving the kind of like awareness around where you are in terms of your area or location really adds to the fear factor of like, whoo, no. And the score out the whole time I was like, it sounds familiar. These guys did the score for Enemy.
Wait, who did the score?
I'm gonna butcher their names. I'll try to like. Let's see. I'm gonna do my best. Danny Bensi and Sonder Haranes. Yeah, I'm probably butchering that name. I apologize. They
Okay, because
did.
I remember Enemy, and I remember liking that one a lot.
Yeah, they did the score for that, and they did a score I thought was pretty good for that Apple TV show with Jake Gyllenhaal, Presumed Innocent, um,
Hmm.
which was my show of the week, I think, about 2 weeks ago. So the score, I was like, oh, it's really kind of, and I was like, well, it sounds like a lot like Enemy, and it turned out it was Enemy, and I was like, oh, no shit.
Oh, good ear, Doug.
I know my Denny movies, man. I know my Denny movies. But to your point too, before we wrap it up, is that I think the two child actors, were very well casted. The little boy who has, I mean, not much to say. I thought did a phenomenal job, and I was like, because you kind of like,
Not much to say. You crazy for that, bro.
I mean, it's true. I feel bad for the kid, and you're like, oh my gosh, but like the way he's able to do all kind of motions and mimics, all having no dialogue, it's like, wow, this kid's acting his ass off.
Yeah,
And
he killed it.
to me, watching this, it felt like, again, no, it felt like watching kind of early M Night Shyamalan, where it's like, oh, if M Night
Hmm.
Shyamalan kind of stuck with his kind of like Sixth Sense and like not the village, but a little bit kind of the village, a little bit like that kind of vibe, a little bit like it felt very M Night Shyamalan inspired to a degree. Again, I know it's a remake of a Danish film, so but it felt like what kind of the early work of M Night Shyamalan before he kind of like got a little too ahead of himself. Say that.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like around like the village, Lady in the Water was
yeah,
kind of like, you're kind of losing
you're
us
losing
here,
it.
man.
We're losing him. You're losing him.
But bro,
Um,
Sixth Sense and Unbreakable.
That's a
Ooh.
back to back run. That's a great
Peak.
two run. That's a great two run as a filmmaker in any sense of any sense of filmmaking. But and I do think that James Watkins do this movie again, as we said last night in our theater reaction, who did one of our favorite episodes of Black Mirror, Shut Up and Dance, which is again, you should, if you haven't seen Black Mirror, or you're new to Black Mirror, or you have Netflix, really watch the third and fourth seasons of Black Mirror, because they are tremendous. It's really like remarkable storytelling and television. But Shut Up and Dance, yesterday me and Nick were like, holy shit, that's the episode with and it's like, oh my god. And it's a really trippy episode, but it grips you right away. You're just like, oh my gosh. And similar to Speak No Evil, they both have unsettling tones. You're just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, like
Yeah,
just do
because
this,
also,
please.
yeah, because also to your point, like both of them, they're both of the stories kind of revolve around people being stuck in situations where it's like, man, if I literally just didn't do this one tiny thing, I would be chilling right now.
Yes,
But they did that tiny thing, and now like their whole shit is just flipped upside down, and it's like, damn, it's so fascinating to watch.
right. Ex- exactly. And again, it keeps you engaged, keeps you like guessing what could happen next. So kudos for James Watkins for kind of really kind of like bringing his kind of like not style, but like what I saw in both Shut Up and Dance and Speak No Evil is that he knows how to capture an audience and
Yeah,
keeps you like just kind of like really like focused in and engaged of like what's gonna happen next. Not like I'm bored with this. It's like no, he builds suspense, he builds kind of tension, he builds kind of just like character involvement with like, okay, if this person does this, what happens here? So I'm really kind of curious to see him as a filmmaker what he does next. I think Blumhouse and him should keep collaborating on projects. Again, I think he's a really cool filmmaker. Again, not knowing most of his work before this, other than Shut Up and Dance, I'm like, yo, he's on my list for sure as a filmmakers to watch. Again, I think again, haven't seen the. I think you guys should probably watch the original soon. Maybe during like a podcast rewatch, whatever, and kind
I'm
of
with that.
compare this one and that one. But what I heard yesterday when we left the movie was that the people who do like the original said this was a pretty good remake, and I'm like, I like
Oh
hearing that.
wow.
It wasn't like, man, what is this bullshit? Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is this? And not like shit where it's like, oh yeah, that was pretty bad, guys. But from
Yeah,
what I
because it seems
heard,
like a
yeah,
lot of the times when if there's like a foreign film and then an American remake, the
right,
American remake typically doesn't
hmm
perform as well.
old boy,
I was thinking that same thing, and that's no disrespect because like when I heard about Old Boy when I was a kid, and then I heard that they were they're making it. I'm like, okay, Spike Lee to direct the Old Boy remake. That's
could work.
interesting. I wouldn't have like pegged him for that type of role, but they got Josh Brolin, Elizabeth Olsen, Samuel L. Jackson, Sharlto Copley, Pom Clementif in this movie. I'm like, this is everything just seemed like this is gonna be really interesting. But I think it was again one of those things that the studio came in and kind of like fucked it up because apparently there's a longer like director's cut of it, some or like some sort of like
Oh, really?
extended cut, and also that film it's a Spike Lee film.
Not a
It's
joint.
not a
Right.
Spike
A
Lee
joint.
joint. So
That's
he's
right.
like, and it's like I would have loved to have seen the Spike Lee joint version of that.
Hmm.
At one point, Steven Spielberg and Will Smith were attached to that movie. I think it was like Spielberg was gonna direct and Will Smith was gonna be the main character.
I can see Will Smith do that movie, but Spielberg, no. No.
I can't see either of them. Just
Really?
as
Yeah.
Will Smith, especially because of what happens at the end. For those of you that haven't
Oh,
seen
yeah.
Old Boy yet,
It's fucked up.
watch the original Korean 2003
Hmm.
version.
Yep.
That's the best one. I'd recommend the 2013 one because why not? But I'm like I couldn't see Will Smith doing that, but I also couldn't see Spielberg doing a movie like
Hell
that
no.
just overall. But that pairing is just so insane that it's like I would have to watch that. There's some stuff where it's like that's too insane to not try
That's
to.
not hot.
Yeah, that's not hot, but I gotta watch it. Like if you were to tell me like, yo, man, Zack Snyder just got announced to direct the new Medea movie, my first thought would be that's the craziest shit I've ever fucking heard. But I'm about to buy a ticket to that movie because again, that's fucking insane.
What's the line in Django? He goes, "You have my attention. No, I'm curious, but now you have my attention."
Oh
Something
yeah,
like that.
he's like, gentlemen, first you have my curiosity, but now you have
You
my
have my
attention.
attention. That's literally what I think of when it comes to that. But
Yeah.
I for sure want to watch the original with you now and compare and contrast these two ones. But yeah, I'm giving this again. I think I definitely watch the rewatch of this movie, but I'm probably give it right now a solid. I'm teetering between 7.5 and an 8 because I thought about a lot today. I was like, that stuck with me a lot too. But it was certain character decisions that were kind of this like, no, what are you doing here? So
Mm.
what are you doing? So I'm giving it a solid 7.5 out of 10. I think it's worth seeing in theaters for sure. If you're a Blumhouse horror fan, definitely worth seeing full price. Again, see with the crowd too. Again, I love seeing movies like this in the crowd with you, obviously, where it's like people are like cheering and clapping. Don't go in there, or whatever. Because then this is why we go to the movies. This is why the experience of being in a theater is so important. Movies like this are the reason why. And again, you and I having our doubts of the trailer, we're like, okay, we'll see. And kind of proving us wrong is like, all right, you won us over. Bravo, sir. Bravo, McAvoy. Bravo, Blumhouse. Bravo, Universal Pictures. Bravo, James Watkins. So, and Davis, of course. So, definitely worth seeing in theaters. If I were you, avoid spoilers too. I mean, again, I think if you haven't seen the original, go watch this one first, and like us, go watch the new one. Go watch the original. So watch the new one first and original after, and compare and contrast. Because I think that if you and I saw the original first, you and I would have been like, well, this was different, whatever. Because again, we're film enthusiasts, we're film experts. You might
Indeed.
say. So I'm kind of glad you and I went in seeing this one first, and now comparing this one to the original when we do watch the original. So I'm curious about this, but yeah, definitely go see in theaters, see what the crowd, see opening weekend. It's a cool again, getting right time for spooky season for next October. So I think Blumhouse has a win on their hands, and I'm really hoping they can kind of bring them back from their kind of like box office kind of mishaps this past year and a half. So we'll see how it does this weekend at the box office.
Yes,
Oh,
we will.
Alrighty, my friend. Again, short episode tonight, guys. We have a lot going on this week, and another screening tomorrow night. Look out for our review and reaction of The Substance coming soon. But
Can't
Nick,
wait.
I can't wait, my boy. Nick, my friend, what are your actually for newcomers of the show? We always end our show with our one and ones of the week. We do one movie recommendation and one show recommendation for you all. You might hate these movies, might love them. We want to know from you guys. So again, our kind of like two underrated takes of one show and one movie. Nick, my friend, your thoughts for your one on ones of this week first.
So for my television show one on one, I'm gonna go with the show Dexter. My fiance is watching it in the back right now. For those of y'all who haven't seen it, no spoilers, but it's a fantastic show. It follows Dexter Morgan, played by Michael C. Hall. He is a forensic blood spattered analyst for the Miami Police Department, I believe.
Yep.
But that's his day job, but at night he's a serial killer, and his whole thing is I kill other serial killers. So it's really fun to kind of it's fun to watch his day to day and how he interacts with everybody. It's fun to see the duality that he has, and they, because it's a TV show, they're able to go into why and like how he is the way he is and everything like that. I feel like it started off really really strong because I remember something like the main thing that happened in season one. It kind of blew my socks off because I was like, this seems like a season like five or like season eight type of thing. But I'm like, dang, I started off like this. That's crazy. And it just kind of, it just kind of like went on from there. But like the last like two-ish seasons, I think I was like, it didn't quite hit for me, but it was still a really good show, in my opinion. And I because I don't remember when I started watching it. It might have been in college, but I definitely just binged through it, man. And I just it was a fantastic show, and it really put me on to Michael C. Hall as an actor. And it's funny too because I got to bring this up. I'm a comic fan, blah blah blah. But I remember there was at one point where people were saying like Michael C. Hall would either be a great like Batman or a great Daredevil. And like after watching the show, I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of see that now. Now
I can see it.
for my movie, this is perhaps a bit of a cop out. I wanted to bring this up for a previous podcast, but as Doug mentioned, it was some stuff that kind of went down, so I wasn't able to attend that one. But for this movie, it is going to be actually technically the movie doesn't exist because they didn't actually make it. But the thing is, they were going to make it. Is they went through pre-production, and I think they were like really close to starting a production, but for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. And that movie is called, or rather, would have been called Superman Lives. It would have been directed by Tim
Interesting.
Burton, and it
Yeah.
would have starred Nick Cage as the greatest superhero of all time, Superman. And so but yeah, and the reason I wanted to bring that up because we're going to talk a little bit about, can I say this? We're going to talk about Tim Burton
Yeah.
for last podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yeah, of course. Of course.
Okay, and then we can kind of just like edit that part out just a
Okay.
little bit.
Okay. Of course.
But no, yeah, because it was, like I said, directed by Tim Burton. This would have come out in the '90s. I'm a huge Superman fan for those of y'all who don't know, but the basic premise of this film was it was going to be like Nick Cage is Superman. He fights Doomsday, and he dies obviously, and then he comes back to life, and he ends up fighting Brainiac, who I believe would have been played by Christopher Walken.
That'd be crazy.
And at one point, Chris Rock was even attached to play Jimmy Olsen. And I think Courtney Cox was gonna be Lois, or at least they were like all in talks. But I've been hearing about this movie for years, and I've seen like the costume fittings that they've done. I've heard the behind the scenes stuff with one of the men who's gonna be the producers on the movie, like John Peters, and he like based on the words of Kevin Smith, who at one point was supposed to write the script for it.
Hmm.
Like John Peters was like, like Superman is just he has like the eyes of a savage killer, and I want Sean Penn to play Superman, and he's got to fight this giant spider at the end of the movie, or something like that, or like a polar bear or something. No, it was a spider. But and it was just kind of like, I remember Kevin Smith was just saying like none of this shit made sense and blah blah blah. And it's funny too because John Peters went on to produce Wild Wild West, which
Hmm.
had a third act that contained a giant fucking spider in it. So I guess he got his wish after all. But for Superman Lives, it just always seemed like really fascinating to me. And it's one of those movies where again, where it's like this movie just sounds just so kind of so crazy and so weird and so out there that you have to see it. And they have on Spotify, matter of fact, they have, I think it's like an audiobook version of the
Ooh.
script, and it's two different scripts. It was one written by, I believe, Dan Gilroy, and then the other one was the Kevin Smith one. So it's cool to like watch those and kind of like compare and contrast. And I think would have taken place in the Michael Keaton Batman universe.
Oh, really?
Because in the yeah, 'cause in the I think it was the Kevin Smith one. It was after he died, and Metropolis was having the whole funeral for Superman. Apparently, fucking Batman like basically takes over all of the television screens in Metropolis,
Yeah.
and he gives his eulogy for Superman.
Oh, really?
And it was like, yo, yeah, because you know what happened? Brainiac had somehow like blotted out the sun, like how they did in the Matrix movies, where it's like
Yeah.
we had to blacken the skies. Brainiac blackened the skies, and so it was just kind of like not eternal darkness, but it was just dark all the time. So Batman came on, he's like, yo, like rest in peace, Superman, Metropolis. I would love to be there right now, but it's nighttime all the time, and I live in Gotham, so I'm kind of working double time right now. And that was like his little cameo. And apparently, one of the reasons that they wanted Nick Cage to play Superman Clark Kent was because someone was saying like Nick Cage just has this kind of like you would believe that he's from another planet because he's
Yeah.
all like kind of weird and eccentric and shit like that. I'm like, damn, that's a really good point. And Nick Cage like really, really, really wanted to play Superman,
Yeah, he did.
and like he was really passionate about that. And Nick Cage is also just a big comic book fan, like because Cage isn't even his original last name. He got Cage
Coppola.
from it's Coppola. He got the name Cage from the Marvel character Luke Cage, and I
Mhm.
think he even like named his son Jor-El or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, yeah.
So it's like that's another reason why I would want to see Superman Lives specifically with Nicolas Cage, because he's a crazy actor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's really good at acting, but it's like I love just how far he'll throw himself into a role. And not only that, but how I mentioned earlier, he was really, really passionate about it. And there's even times where people will ask him, like, hey, if you had the chance, would you still play Superman? And because the movie didn't get made, like, you just like you see like it kind of hits him a little bit. And it's like, dang, that's someone who cares. And so yeah, I really would have liked to have seen that. And it makes me think too, because there was a line in the George Clooney Batman movie, Batman and Robin, where like at the beginning of the movie, Chris O'Donnell Robin, he's like, I want a car. Chicks dig the car. And George Clooney
Saying
turns
stuff.
around, he's like, this is why Superman works alone. And dude, watching that as a little kid, literally just the mention of another superhero in this movie, if we were watching the movie with the door closed and you were on the other side, you would have swore it was opening night of fucking Endgame, bro. Me and my cousin were like, "Oh, I'm Superman!" He said it. He said it. But also, excuse me, pardon me. But also, like to that, even like with that, I'm kind of wondering, like, would is Nick Cage the Superman in the George Clooney Batman universe? Because it
It
technically is
could.
the Tim Burton universe, because it's like Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. It's all supposedly the same continuity. It's just stylistically different because they got a different director for it. But that it makes me think like, dang, would he have been that Superman if they did like a some sort of crossover or whatever? And it's like the possibilities are endless, and my imagination just runs wild. But yeah, to sum up, Dexter, Superman Lives.
I could see it. I could see it be the Tim Burton verse. It would make sense. It would make sense given that Tim Burton almost did Superman with Nick Cage. So I could see it in the same universe or degree of it.
Yeah,
Um,
that would
but
have been. Oh man,
I
that
could have seen
low
it,
key, that
man.
movie would have been dope. It would have been weird, but it would have been dope.
It would have been. It would have been. I think it would have been very like still talked about to this day. I think like certain like Tim
Yeah,
Burton films or certain even Batman '89, Batman Returns. So it's like
and the
it's
fact
yeah.
that because they didn't even make the movie,
No, they
but they're
didn't.
still talking about it to this day. Like they have the scripts for it on Spotify.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, if they made that movie, I'm not gonna say it would have changed the comic book movie
You never
genre.
know.
It would have shifted some things,
Yeah.
because I doubt that we would have gotten like a Man of Steel or like a Superman Returns, at least as they exist as we know them.
Mm-hmm.
Because also, it's I could go on and on, but
Yeah.
yeah,
You never know. You
you never
never
know.
know. You never know. Good choices, my man.
Thank
Let's
you, my brother.
see.
Thank you.
Let me think. So I think for my movie of the week, I'm doing a movie first. I'm gonna do a movie called 30 Minutes or Less. And I think it's a very, very underrated comedy from 2011 with
Not with Aziz Ansari.
yeah.
Okay.
Jesse Eisenberg, Aziz Ansari, Dan McBride, Nick Swartzen. It's Ruben Fleischer who did Zombieland, and the first Venom, and unfortunately
Oh wow.
Uncharted. Again,
Uncharted.
yeah,
Oh
unfortunately
man.
Uncharted. And I saw Zombieland as a kid with my dad, and I was like, a kid. We were like, what? I was like 13 or 12, whatever. So a tween, whatever. And I love Zombieland. Like, this movie's hilarious. And I remember seeing the trailers for um for 30 Minutes or Less, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's from the guy who did Zombieland. I was like, yes. Jesse Eisenberg, who I loved in Zombieland. I loved him in Social Network. So I was like, yes. And I'm like, oh, damn, McBride. I loved him in Hot Rod and Tropic Thunder or whatever. I was like, yes. And then next, obviously, because of all the Sandler movies, I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Aziz Ansari because of Parks and Rec. I'm like, this is gonna be great. And I remember like, how was I? I think we were 13. The movie came out, give or take, 13. Yeah,
When I
wow,
come out 2011.
2011. So I think
Yeah,
we
yeah,
was
we would have been 13.
13. And I remember like I was so nervous. I think me and Joel stuck in to see this movie when we were 13. So we were very young, right below 17. And
Y'all
I
some
remember
badass kids, man. I
I was
would
so
never.
nervous. I was so nervous being caught.
I would never.
And Joe
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
"Dude, just be chill, bro. Be chill." I was like, "Oh, I'm so scared." But we walked in. And it was him and I, and it was like one guy in the front. I was like, "Man, no one's seeing this movie." And as a kid, I was so nerdy. I used to like read like box office productions and weekend updates, whatever. Like, oh, like what's gonna be the box office weekend or whatever. And I
Hmm.
remember that movie came out. The movie like flopped so badly, and it was like I was like, "What? Like Jesse Eisenberg, guy, Zombieland's gonna be a hit." And we had like eighth or ninth place that weekend at the box office. And I was like, yo, what went wrong? And I remember seeing it with me. I think me and Joel were like 13. Like, the movie's great. This movie's so funny. And I remember we loved it. And I think I watched it like me during COVID. And I'm like, this movie's really stupid, but it's funny. It holds up. And basically, the premise is he Eisenberg plays this kind of like bum ass stoner pizza truck delivery driver, or whatever, and
Yeah.
he's a loser. And his best friend is Aziz Ansari, and he's dating his sister. And he's like, and one day he's doing this run, and these two like basically like psychos by Nick Swartzen and Dan McBride want to get rich quick, and they basically kidnap Jesse Eisenberg. They put a bomb on him in a vest. So hey, you have 12 hours to rob a bank, and if not, we're gonna blow you up. So then him, Eisenberg, and Aziz Ansari have to like rob this bank, and they're two idiots. They're bumbling idiots. They're like so stupid. They don't know how to do it, and they're like, "Hey, we should watch Hurt Locker." No, it's too late for that. And it's just like they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Everyone's an amateur, and then Michael Pena plays this kind of like pimp slash like hitman, and it's a very weird movie. But I love like stupid comedies like that, and some funny things. The trailer was like, he goes, "I need your help, man." He goes, "No, man." They're having beef between Aziz Ansari and Eisenberg. He goes, "No, man, because I need your help." He shows him the bomb vest. He goes, your first thought would come to a school filled with young children wearing a bomb vest." And he's like, I didn't think about it, whatever. And it's just like, there's certain funny jokes too, like, "I want you to rob the bank on Third Street." "Oh, by the Olive Garden." "Okay, yeah, sure, whatever." And then Eisenberg was like, he's like, "Hey, man, like, I probably robbed the bank on Third Street." "Oh, by the Olive Garden." I love that bank, whatever. It's like the funny ongoing jokes like that are so funny, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, that thing was cracking me up. It's a very, again, very low budget like studio comedy from 2011, but I think it was like, I think it was really funny. Again, it wasn't as praised or as good as Zombieland, obviously, but I think it's very kind of like very forgotten, underrated comedy from 2010, 2011. I think it's like an hour and 20 minutes too. It's super short. It's a super short movie. You're done, whatever. But as a kid, I was like, oh my god, people love Zombieland. They love these actors. It's gonna be a big hit. And then no one saw that movie. I mean, no one saw that movie. So I was like, I
Hey,
stand corrected. And again,
watch it
that
one of
was
these days.
it's funny, dude. It's very, very stupid, but it's very funny. But again, it was an era of like studio comedies that are just dead. Nowadays, that'd be a streaming. That'd be like on Peacock or on Hulu. It's like, all right,
Mm.
whatever. So I'm going with that as my movie of the week. And then for my show, oof, man, for my show, I might do some kind of more reality TV again. I'm gonna do Kevin Hart's show on Peacock called Heart to Heart. I love kind of like when people kind of like be real about their kind of like careers and life, whatever. And I think despite Kevin Hart not being in the best movies, he's a good listener. And he's good at kind of interviewing people too. And I
Hmm.
think that he's really good at kind of like interviewing his friends, people in the industry. And in Heart to Heart, he has like obviously The Rock on. He has Will Smith. He has Ben Affleck. He has Will Ferrell. Like all those people he's kind of friends with, or people in the industry, whatever. But he's very good at asking kind of questions and kind of just like following up. Like, okay, what do you mean by this, whatever. And I thought that given Kevin Hart's fame success, he's good at kind of being relatable to a degree, but also it's kind of good at hearing other people's stories and kind of sharing stories, whatever. And I think there was a good one with Judd Apatow that was really good because I think Judd Apatow and him were like best friends back in the day. I mean, they're still friends to this day, but like they were kind of like on the rise together at one point in Hollywood. But the way Kevin Hart kind of like talks to his friend, talks to these kinds of colleagues, whatever. It's like they're very personal, but it's very fun to watch because like very short interviews, whatever. But it's fun to watch because again, it's like how like he has like a lot of charisma as an interviewer, but also he's good at asking questions to his colleagues and people in the industry where it's like it feels like fresh. It's not like, so yeah, sure. How about your workout? Sure. Like he actually listens to his friends and people talking. It's like, hey, okay, so you said this, but like how did this happen, whatever. And it's kind of cool hearing like people's like similar stories, whatever. Again, it's not nothing special, but I do like kind of watching when like actors on actors kind of interview each other, not like, no offense to any kind of like journalist or Tonight Show host, but sometimes it feels kind of like little like, phoned in or kind of like very kind of just like not as like personable. So I do like when interviewers or journalists, even celebrities, ask really honest questions about like their career and their kind of life, whatever. And it's like very kind of like honest and truthful show. And I love the Don Cheadle one. Remember that was the famous meme where he goes, "I'm 49 now." He goes, "Damn."
No, I said 56.
56. He goes, "Damn." It's really awkward, but it's funny.
No, because Kevin Hart said that way too fast.
Way too fast. It was like he literally had no like there's no chill about it. But
yeah,
I like stuff like that. So I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely check that out on Peacock, which is Heart to Heart. And my movie is 30 minutes or less. But then I think you can watch that on probably Tubi or all of those free services. Let me see where we can find 30 minutes or less. Yep, on Pluto TV, which is the free Paramount Plus. So check that out on Pluto TV, which has been worth the watch. I think I have it on Blu-ray, but it's a funny hour, 20-minute movie, super short. I know. I like stupid stuff like that. What can I say? I'm a simple man.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I appreciate that.
Having a good laugh every now and then, ain't nothing wrong with that at all.
You know what? I miss the 2010 comedies. Those like studio theater comedies that are like extinct now, unfortunately. But it's a fun time. I like that movie.
I'm with that.
Alrighty, guys. As we end the show, Nick, where can our lovely audience find you on the socials?
So y'all can find me on YouTube at Donning Vision, capital D as in Donning, capital V as in Vision, and on Instagram at Donning Vision, all lowercase, all one word, and also on Instagram at Ahmad Johnson 98. You can find me anywhere and everywhere that they have podcasts.
Alrighty, my boy. And then for me, you can find me on Instagram at The Young Jones. You can find me on Twitter or X at Capri Sun, Capri_SON. And you can find our socials at all one word, Midway Avenue Productions on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. We're going to be growing to more video podcasts, so hopefully soon. Look out for that. But look out for all our reactions and our updates on our Instagram and our YouTube and TikTok. We're always posting there. So make sure to follow us, and you can find all of our great links to our amazing work. Nick's amazing article he's featured in, his award-winning short film, Moses award-winning short film, all our cool work we do outside of the podcast. So it's our link tree on our Instagram, again, Midway Avenue Productions. And thank you all for joining us this week. If you're new to the show, come back and hang out with us next week and the weeks after. We have a lot more in store for you all. And to our returning guest, thank you so much for coming back to the show. Hope you're still enjoying our rambles and love for all things TV and film. And as always, my friends, we will see you at the movies.